My name is Mwangi Kelvin. I was one of the main writers, and I was also the production manager. There were 5 of us in the story department. There was 2 of us who were writing. And the first script I wrote, because I wrote the first draft, was very bad. And then the second draft was written by my collaborator Steve, who added a lot of the more traditional aspects of the script. And then that draft was written by me, which was a combination of both his and mine. I wrote mostly about the things inspired by my father, and he wrote things that were inspired by his grandfather and his father. And then other things were added later by the head of the story department, Amisha Mukasa. She added the dynamic between the characters, because that was a huge problem when we were trying to figure out what to do. There was the dynamic between the priest and the teacher and the boy. And that was, Amisha was the one who came up with the idea of what if it was just a story about 2 fathers and how they deal with this young child. And yeah, so and structure-wise, because it was the director's idea, the hardest part was trying to get something that he would be like, okay, this is what I want. Because all he gives you is like, this is the general idea. Then you're supposed to write the details in according to what he likes, and that's very hard. And really, yeah, that was the hardest part. That and figuring out the character dynamics. When you're writing, don't write based on what you've heard in a movie or you've read in a book. Write according to what you've heard your friends say or you've seen your friend do. Because one of the problems I find when people write is they never funnel it through experience, they funnel it through media they've seen. And that's mostly Western media. And that doesn't really translate well here because of culture and all that. So, you know, think about all your friends, how they talk and how they act, and listen to your parents, because they have amazing stories. And sometimes when you're in a rut, you know, those stories can really help you get out of a situation, like they did for me, God forbid. So yeah, there's that. The pastor was more of a, based on like the idea of what how a pedophile convinces a child to help him engage in, you know. And the teacher was basically it for 4 kids who are teachers, you know, these people who they react violently when they are corrected and all that, and you know, they don't want anything beyond what's in the books.
And since you're blessed to be under the powerful guidance of such a pious and formidable force, care to start us off in today's topic?
I don't feel like engaging.
I am the one who decides who will speak in my class, and I choose you, so stand up as you address the class.
My grandfather once told me that Christianity was a religion of thieves and rapists.
What?
And for Jebediah, I think that was also the hardest character to write, because he doesn't really do much, so but he still has to be compelling enough. So I think that's more of the casting director who got an actor who was very good at expression. But the characters, also some of the stories, like Jebediah says, were based on, like the kids in the class, the story they tell about wrestling was my father. My father used to tell me about, he used to work in a tea plantation, and he told me the first time he ever saw wrestling was in a farm somewhere in Tigoni, and it was the first time he ever saw TV, and the first thing he ever saw on TV was wrestling. So there was also taking parts of each of our lives and putting them in the script.
Nimeona mama witũ arutaga wĩra kũu tuonire gĩ-TV kĩnene coka tũkĩone kĩmũndũ kĩrarĩ na muscles gĩkĩoya kamũndũ kau gĩgĩka macoma kĩarĩ rezori nyingĩ hau nene ma kawokoru kĩmũndũ kĩu na kĩrĩa we warĩ.
We had a class where we were just planning all this, and we had a teacher who helped us, guide us. Like, one of the problems the teacher had was when he read the script was like, okay, this is too much like this guy, that's me. And he was like, I read this and I see this guy talking, so like you should change it a little bit, and you know. And it really helped having such a steady figure. Like the lecturer then, what was his name? Moneki, really, like, he really instilled a sense of discipline and consistency. Because I think if we did not have that class where he was basically showing us what to do and the steps to follow, I don't think the shooting would have gone as smoothly as it did. You know, I had a teacher who says Murphy's Law. Anything that can go wrong will go wrong, and that happened on that day because it was raining. We started shooting 2 hours late. We had no electricity, so we had to use a generator. We were outside school, but because the prep work and the class we had, because it was a class called film project, all that planning, really helped. All that planning, just shows you sometimes a film is preparation. So I'd say if we did have that class, I doubt we would have done as good a job as we did. Limitations help creativity, so there was a lot of limits, because when you are planning a budget, you had to include the lecturers who are going to supervise our projects. We had to include all these things, and the budget was not a lot. So with that constraint, we had to be very creative where we spend the money. And I think, the lecturers who are there also, one of our lecturers actually saved us a lot, because the generator ran out in the evening and we started using our phones trying to light a scene, and he just said, okay, give me the camera. He changed the lens, he increased the aperture, the mambo jumbo, and the scene just popped. And I don't think that scene would have been, because the cell phone lighting was not working. So that helped us a lot, because we had to shoot that scene with no light. So the fact that there was a lecturer there to help us through that was cool.